Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about a fun topic that is AI. We will build an AI based application on the web that literally works kind of like ChatGPT. You can ask any questions and it will be able to answer it in a smart way. So before I start, if you are not familiar with my channel, I will really humbly request you look at some of my videos. Even though this video does not require that you watch all of my previous videos, but I think it will absolutely help you if you at least watch 2 of my previous videos. This one where I actually build an application with the form using Next.js, and I also deploy that application using Vercel on the web. So I'm gonna kind of be doing the exact same thing, but for a different application. And the video before that, if you're not familiar with AI and ChatGPT and OpenAI, I kind of talk about it and also demo what ChatGPT can do for you. So please have a look at those videos, and please do subscribe my channel and like my videos and hit the bell icon so that you can get notified about the new videos that's gonna come in the future. And also please do comment on my videos and ask me questions and ask me what type of videos or what type of materials or technologies or knowledges that you wanted to know about computer science. Okay, now let's get back to the good stuff. The very first thing I'm going to show you is what an OpenAI and an AI application can do for you. So let's just look at a quick demo. So if the term AI scares you, don't worry about it. Okay, in this video and in this application, you actually will not have to know anything about AI, all right? And that is the whole reason about this video. So in order to generate an AI-based application, all you need to know is how to call certain API that's available to you for free, okay, mostly, and how to use them in a smart way and also build something out of it. You don't really need to know the bits and pieces of the AI models, like how it's generated, what are the mathematical formulas. You don't really need to know all that. All right, so let's get back to the demo. So as you could see, this basically says that it's a AI generated web application that you can use to generate images, videos, and you can even chat. All right, so this is pretty cool. So I have different selections. As you can see, that the first one is I can generate an image by typing anything. So I just typed a quick brown fox jumps over a lazy snake, and let's see what it does. And it started to create the image. It's processing, as you can see, and it will be generated pretty soon. And there it is. And it kind of looks a fox and it kind of looks like a snake right here. Anyway, so let's go to the next one. So next one says generate video by interpolating the latent space of stable diffusion. So that's just kind of a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo about AI, but don't worry about it. All it's basically saying is you can put several input prompt delimited by this vertical bar, and it will generate a video. It's like it could say cat walking, and then say dog barking, and say human dancing, something like that. Now let's see what it does. And it's generating. As you could see, it generated the video. It is cat walking, dog barking, and then you have human dancing. So not bad. Okay, so let's look at the next one now. All right, next one is, let's look at this one. How about this one? Animate stable diffusion by interpolating between 2 prompts. I mean, all this is saying is I can put a start and I can put an end, and it will kind of create an animation. So let's see, I could say that cat is catching fish. And I can say on a pond or something like that. And then I could say in the Yosemite Valley. Let's see what it does. It's starting, processing. Then it's ready, you can see it. There's cat catching fish and there's Yosemite Valley. It's not bad. So it kind of did the animation between those two, right? Okay, that's good. Let's look at the next one. So the next one I have is image restoration using swing transformer, whatever that is. So all this is gonna do is, if I have a low quality image, I can drop it here and it's gonna redo it and give me a better quality. Let's see how it does that. So I have actually a low quality image right here that I can use. Just want to show you first. This is the image, as you can see. Michael Jackson's pretty low quality image. Let's open that up and let's just say go. And here it is, not bad. As you can see, it kind of blew it up and then fixed some of the face paintings, I guess. And you can kind of run this by multiple times and maybe it will be looking much better. So maybe that's the idea. Okay, so let's look at the next one. So this one is a fun one. So this one basically says OpenAI Chatbot that uses similar model as ChatGPT. So here basically what this is telling you is this is a highly intelligent question answering bot. So just enter a question. So let's see what it does. So I could say hi. The chat will appear at the top. There you go. It says hi there. How can I help you? I'm going to say something like, how are you doing this morning? Great, thanks for asking. Okay, do you know Python? Let's say. Okay, my next question is how do I build an array in Python? And as you can see, it answered it right away and with details. So as you can see, this is really a smart bot, and you can pretty much ask any questions. You can even ask about stocks and the current affairs and let's say try another one. What is Elon Musk's birthday? Let's see if he knows that. He does know that. Look. Okay. So anyway, you got the idea. So this basically is very capable. You can do all kinds of different AI. So as you can see, this is very neat and capable. So we're going to try to build this chatbot today. So I already have the code. All I'm going to do is I'll show you how to get the code, how to run it, and basically talk about the code, how the code works. Okay, let's get to it. So the application will kind of look like this. So here's a simple chat, but as you can see, you ask questions and it kind of answers. Okay, it'll kind of look like this. So what do you need to do first? So the very first thing you're going to need is Node.js, of course. So download it. Here's the link. I'll put the links in the description below, and also it will be on the GitHub too. Then what you will need is Visual Studio Code. Again, you don't have to have this editor. If you're familiar with some other editor, that's absolutely fine. But in my tutorial today, in my video, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. So if you want to follow along, then go ahead, download this. It's a very cool IDE. And then the next thing you're going to need is go to this openai.com. So that's the site. Once you go there, you're going to need an account. Okay, and the account is free. So once you have an account, what I want you to do is go ahead, click on this API. Once you click on the API and you're logged in, you're gonna have something like this. So it's basically showing you that now you have access to all these tutorials, quick start tutorials, the examples, and so it's basically telling you that you can build an application through all of these different AI models, and you have access to those, right? And you can definitely click on examples, and you're going to see that it'll give you this whole big long list of stuff. All of these are different AI models. And the one that I have used, the one that I'm going to talk about is this one, question and answer. So that's the model that I used in the application. Now let's find out how to use it, right? Before even going further, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and click on this link right here and go to View API Keys, right? Because you're going to need an API key. So once you do that, it's going to give you a screen like this. In the screen, just go ahead, click on this, create new secret key, which will kind of give you something like this. And then you just kind of copy it, and that becomes your API. Be sure to save your API key because you're going to need it next. Okay, so once you are done with this, open a command prompt and go to your favorite directory, because this is where you're going to get the code from the GitHub, and I'm going to put the GitHub link in the description below, as I always do. So what you're going to do is you're going to type git clone. I'm assuming you already have the git, and this is the URL, and just hit OK. I'm not going to do it because I already have the code. So once you have that, it will download the code, and just go to this directory called Chatbot. Okay, and then go ahead, bring your code. That would be a Visual Studio Code if you just type that, and there you go, there's the code right there. So the code is written in Next.js, which is just a framework built on the top of the React.js. So the first thing you want to do is, remember you got the OpenAI API key, you wanted to put that somewhere, right? So let me show you the code. So if you expand the pages, there's an API, there's OpenAPI, and there's index.js. There's two index.js. One is this one, the other one is that one. That one is a server, and this one is the client. Okay, so click on that index.js, that's on the server side. And just to be safe, so that it's kind of hidden, it's not shown everywhere in the world, you can put the API key as an environment variable. And that is the safest way to do it. That's the recommended way. Now, of course, if you don't care, you can literally just copy and paste your API key just right here as a string, like this. That also works. Okay, you can just put your whatever the API key is. So, and then run the program. But my suggestion would be you keep it in an environment. That is the best practice. Okay, so you don't have to touch any code, don't change this code. I'll show you how to put it in an environment. In Visual Studio Code, you can actually just bring the terminal right. So this is kind of like the shell that you can use where you can literally go ahead and set your environment. So what I'm going to do is copy this right here just to show you how to do this. Copy that and then type, this is on Windows, on Linux it will be something like export environment variable equals to whatever the value is. So in Windows you're going to do something like set that equals to, and just put the whatever the API key that you copied, right? Just put it like this and hit enter. So that is going to make sure that your environment variable is set on the environment that you are running against. Okay, once you set the environment variable, you're actually ready to run because everything else is done for you. So in order to run it, what you want to do is first you just want to compile, just type this npm install, and once that is done, you're just going to go ahead and run it. npm run dev. There you go. Let it come up, and it's up. So you go back to your browser and just type http://localhost 3000, and there it is. Then you can just start chatting. Say hi, and there it is. And what is the stock market? Something like that. As you could see, it answers as you wish, and you can just have fun with it. That's all nice, but how do I deploy this on the web so that you can share it with your friends and other people? So let's look at that. The first thing you want to do is, of course, go to this site called Vercel.com, and it's free, so go ahead, create an account. There is a paid version, but as long as you're doing this for the hobby, I think you should be okay. So go ahead, sign up, and then after you're done signing up, come back to the screen. So you can kill your server if you want to, because you're going to need the prompt, and I'm going to clear my screen so that you can see everything. And then what I'm going to do is, you want to install the Vercel. Okay, now how do I install Vercel? If you already have it installed, you can skip this step, but this is basically how I install npm i-g Vercel and hit enter. I already have it, so I'm not going to do it, and it will just install it automatically for you. So now that you have Vercel installed, all you have to do is just type Vercel, enter, and it will automatically say, do you want to set up and deploy? Just choose all default, hit enter, and it automatically found my account. And I'm just going to say yes. In your case, it may have your login. Just go ahead and log in. That's fine. Link to the existing project, and it didn't find anything, so that's why by default N is chosen. So I'm just going to say okay. And it says, what's your project name? Chatbot is fine. I'm just going to hit enter. Yes, it's located in the current directory because that's exactly where I have my code. So it's going to do what it's supposed to do in building and all that. Then it says keep all the default settings. I'm just going to say yes, go ahead, keep all the default settings, and it's doing whatever it's supposed to do, build. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is, if you remember that we have an environment variable where we put the API key. So you're going to have to do the same thing on Vercel environment. So what you want to do is say Vercel space env add and the name of your environment variable, and just go ahead and hit enter. and it's basically going to ask you, okay, what's the value of it, and go ahead, put your value. Once you put your value and hit enter, it's going to ask you which environment you want, production, preview, or development. Each of these environment you can just put spacebar and it's going to be selected. Then hit the down arrow, spacebar again, down arrow, spacebar again. So you kind of did all the environment. That's what I'm going to do, and then hit enter. And then it will automatically add that environment, and you need to do that because this is the only way it will automatically add your environment variable of this OpenAI Demo API key to the Vercel environment. So once you're done with all that, all you have to do now is say Vercel --prod to say that go ahead, deploy the application to production finally, and let it do its thing. Once that is done, all you have to do is copy this production URL and then open a browser and paste it and run it, and there you go, it's actually out on the web. So you can share this URL with anyone, with your friends or whoever, and there you go, it's gonna work like a champ, and it does. Now that you have the application working, let's look at the code, explain how this thing works actually. So if you're not familiar with Next.js, I'll just have a brief description here. Next.js typically has a server side and also has a client side, okay? According to the convention, if you see a directory called API, most likely anything underneath that is going to be the server-side code, okay? So as you could see, I have a directory called API and then an OpenAPI subdirectory, and then I have a file called index.js. So when you have index.js, you can literally call this URL as like /API/OpenAI/ and automatically will go to the index.js. That's how it works. And this is actually the client-side code, okay? So anytime you run like that, the local 3000, this site that comes up first, okay? As you could see that this is just the simple, React looking code, because it is React literally. That's what Next.js is. So here I declared all the different state variable that I'm going to need. The active is basically what determines when I have to enable or disable button, okay? So just for a better explanation, I put the site on the left side and the code on the right so you can kind of compare. So this active thing is nothing but, you will notice whenever I click this button once until I get a response, I disable this button so that you just don't keep clicking on it. So it's just, as a nicety, and this is kind of looks more professional. The other thing in terms of professional is I just didn't want my form to look like some just ugly normal form. So I kind of used Bootstrap to make it, give it a nice look and feel. So you will see that as well. And then the prompt is, of course, nothing but this is the prompt. And the current chat is, it keeps track of all the chats that happen. So that's basically what this variable is. The result is, of course, whatever result is returned from the server. That's what this thing is. And any error that happens. Okay. And of course, you can kind of tell handles the prompt. It kind of like keeps track of the event whenever you're entering something on this text. And then handle submit is basically the button that whenever you click on this chat, it actually handles all this submission. Okay, so that's this guy right here. And then of course this return, as you can see, this is the one that's actually returning the page itself, right? Starting with the head, and you got the result. This thing is basically telling me that, hey, only show the chat at the top if you got a result, right? That's all this is, very simple. And then this is where it actually shows the result of the chat, okay? And it's coming out of in here, and I'm doing some find and replace because what happens is initially any of this AI, you have to like feed into something. You have to feed a starter parameter. So that's basically what this is. Now, of course, the starter parameters, I don't want to show that into my chat because that kind of will look really weird because you never asked that question. So why should I show it? So that's why all I'm doing is when I am rendering the chat results, I'm just basically removing that piece, that starter piece. And that's all this code is. It's basically rendering every chat except the beginner starter piece. That's all this is. Okay, and moving on, then this is just a normal form. You get a title and a form, and there's the prompt. That's where it's handling the prompt. And the placeholder, this is just coming out of all the hard-coded text that I put at the top, as you can see right here, and so on and so forth. And you get a button, and the button is enable and disable by the active, which I mentioned. That's the state I'm keeping track of. And of course the buttons event is handled by the form submission, right, which is happening right here. Handle submit. Okay, now let's look at the handle submit. What happens? Well, of course, first of all, as soon as you submit, I am kind of saying disable equal to true. That's what this basically means. And then prevent all the defaults. And then this is where the magic of excuse me, Next.js comes in. So whenever you see something like this, it is basically calling an API or calling a server-side code, right? So I'm calling /API/OpenAPI, which basically means it's going to go to that directory and run this code, right? So I am calling that, and what am I passing? I'm just passing the current chat because I need to pass the entire history. So that's another thing that's very important. So that, as you know, the AI model it learns based on the training, right? So as I'm talking to this AI bot, I need to pass him or this thing the entire history of my chat. So that's why I always have to keep track of the current chat, how many different chats or questions I ask and the answer I have with the Q&A prompt, and then add the prompt at the end with the Q, as you can see. So that's how you kind of send the prompt to the server, okay? And then wait for the response, and then if there is, a bad response, that means it's not successful, then you just kind of enable the button back again and just show the error. So the error shows up at the bottom actually. You will see there's a little piece of code right here that says if there's an error, go ahead and show it at the bottom with an alert error. Okay, so if it's not an error, if it's all good, then of course I'm setting the results because that's what we're going to use to get the rest of the stuff. And then I am also setting the current chat in the current chat because that's the state it's going to use to get the value that's going to show up at the top. Alright, so now let's look at what's happening on the server. The server, as you can see, we are calling this and sending the entire chat history plus whatever the new prompt is. So here's the server side, and the server side code is, this is the standard OpenAI code that you can look at OpenAI documentation. That's what this suggests, that this is what you kind of have to import. And then the model is, this is the model that we're calling, right? I just kind of hard-coded it, but you can change this model to the other models, like this Code DaVinci 003, there's Text DaVinci version 2, so all these different things. So as part of the call, you definitely have to provide the API key so that the system knows that you are a valid user of the OpenAI, and then initialize this OpenAI, and then this is just a standard thing that the documentation will tell you what to pass when you're trying to chat, right? Using that model. So that's what I'm passing, and as you could see, these stuffs all standard that came from documentation, including the model. The only thing I'm passing here, as you could see, is prompt, and it's getting from the prompt that I sent from my client side. So now remember, in my conversation in the beginning, I mentioned that you don't need to know anything about AI. All you're doing is basically calling the OpenAI's API and passing the right parameter that they have asked you to pass, and it'll give you the result. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just basically making API calls, and then once this is successful, it returns this variable, and inside the completion I have a data and I have choices. The text, that's basically where the response is sent back from the server, from the OpenAI chat server, right? And then I get the response, and then I basically again concatenate with my entire prompt again, right, as the current chat and the answer. So that kind of gives me the entire history and everything, plus the new one at the bottom. And then I set the status value to 200. And if there's an error, it just takes care of the error. That's how it's got the entire history. So coming back to my client, you see that when everything is set and successful, what I'm doing right here is just getting the current chat and then setting it back. Okay? So that's about it. I mean, there's nothing fancy about it. It's pretty simple. And like I said, if you know Next.js or if you know React, all you got to do is write code to call the OpenAI's API, just to get any kind of AI thing done. Like any kind of AI model you want to use, just do that and it will just work. So that's about it. I think let's just look at the entire summary, what we talked about. So the process is basically you can download the Node.js, you're going to download the Visual Studio Code if you want to use the same ID that I used, and then you're going to create an account in OpenAI, generate the API key, and create an account in Vercel, and then check out the chatbot from JIT, okay, using the JIT. Once you get all that, then you need to make sure that you set the OpenAI demo API key variable to the API key that you got from the OpenAI, compile and build, and you can definitely run locally, but at the same time, after compiling and running, you can go ahead and deploy to Vercel as I mentioned in my video, and then you'll have some kind of application on the Vercel. So this is my application that shows up. So that's pretty much it. So if this video added any value to your skills, please do subscribe and like my video, and also hit the bell icon so that you can also get notified for the subsequent video that is going to come in the future. I think the next thing what I'm going to do is if you like these videos and if I get enough requests, I can also do another one where you can actually create images based on text. So that's also another fun thing, or create a video. So that's all for today, and thanks a lot for staying with me, and have a great day.